assalamu alaikum, khush amdeed, goeiemorgen, pakhair ragle, washmalechun, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special transmission of World This Morning on a very unusual Sunday evening. Yes, I'm saying that because for all of those who watch us regularly, you know that we usually do not come on air on weekends, but this one was a special one, and we love sharing our information and whatever we know with all our fellow viewers out there. We open our window of love and hope to more than 40 countries in the world, not only in Pakistan. And as I always say, PTV is where we educate you. So I feel like you must have known by now that today I'm here again with a very informative and educational topic. So this was probably a few days ago. I was watching the closing ceremony of Alpine ski competition, where the President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, appreciated the efforts of everyone who arranged the competition and really admired the fact that people not only from within Pakistan, but also from all different parts of the world participated in the event. And you know, he belonging to Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the incumbent government right now, he also supports the idea of, hospitality and developing the tourism sector in Pakistan. Now let's begin with a small story. Imagine a country which is so beautiful and it has all sorts of scenery, ranging from deserts, even cold deserts and hot deserts, to all sorts of snow-capped mountains as well, urban areas and rural areas. Cultural tourism is in boom here, regional tourism, also religious tourism. But for some reasons, we were labeled with, well, let's say bad connotations for quite a while now. Luckily, we've overcome that, and now again, we have opened our doors of love to everyone out there in the world. And because of the efforts of PTI, we know that even the visa policies for people visiting Pakistan have been made so much easier that, well, in the recent few years, thousands and thousands of people have been coming to visit Pakistan. Of course, we are talking about tourism by now. I'm pretty sure you found out. But here's the thing. When we talk about a country with such a large population, such a beautiful, immensely beautiful places as well, we need to develop the hospitality sector too. Yes, of course, we're going to be developing tourism. We're going to be making so many beautiful places as well, facilities, whatnot. But are the people of Pakistan ready to face the influx of tourism? Are we actually ready to be that hospitable, as per the people of, let's say, Switzerland are? Why did I say Switzerland? Because for everyone who's been there, for everyone who has internet, we know how beautiful, how absolutely stunning Switzerland is. I feel like it's a dream destination for a lot of people. And which country better to learn from in terms of hospitality than Switzerland? So here's the thing, Executive Education Program from EHL Switzerland, EEP, is actually offering a lot of, hospitality courses and tourism development courses to different countries in the world. And luckily, this time, Pakistan happens to be one of them. This is what we will be talking about, extra programs being taught to hospitality programs specifically to Pakistanis. I feel like I've given out a lot of information already. So without further ado, I will be digging into deeper conversation with our very apt guests over here. Let me just mention for all of those who have already sort of noticed, we're not in our studios right now because we really wanted to show how beautiful, absolutely beautiful, especially the federal capital, Islamabad, is. I'm pretty sure you can see the background here as well. It's just so stunning to begin the morning here especially, and then sharing this with you as well in the evening. So without further ado, let's introduce this very amazing person who has joined us all the way from Switzerland. And he happens to be a consultant representative for EHL, what I was talking about already. We'll ask him what it is. He is none other than Frank Louvo. Hello, welcome to Pakistan. Welcome to my show.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you too. Good evening rather, because this is going to be aired in the evening, that's why. And next to Frank, we have someone our own who he happens to be in the hospitality industry for quite some while now. We've seen his work and we felt like he's the very right person to be in conversation with us today. He's the corporate director of Serena Hotels, also a tourism expert, none other than Dr. Moinuddin. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen, I feel like I did give out quite a little detailed introduction, but to begin with, Frank, what is EHL for all those people who don't know?
EHL stands for École Hôtelière de Lausanne, so we are located in Switzerland. Okay. EHL is specialized in delivering hospitality education, hospitality management education and innovation worldwide. Okay. EHL is a group made of EHL, the original school. We are focusing on delivering and focusing on traditional Swiss hospitality for about 125 years. The school was created in 1893. So we deliver in our campuses in Lausanne, in Singapore, and in Shurpasuk, undergraduate and graduate programs.
Oh,
We have
that's
today-
brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, so for Pakistan, I read, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the courses that you guys have designed are actually going to span over this entire year, from February to December. Ladies and gentlemen, for all those who don't know, we are going to have 7 modules throughout the year, for which 25 people will be selected for each module. Is that right? Dr. Moinuddin, I feel like I'm going to ask you to explain it to me better. How is that going to work?
This time we have requested everyone in the whole service sector to join hands, and we want to benefit the whole country, as you said, the government's vision. In line with Serena's philosophy of sharing the benefits with everyone, initially 2 years back we had an understanding for Lausanne for our own management team. Based on our experiences, now we have reached out to the whole service sector ecosystem. So we have received an overwhelming response from the service sector players.
Oh, perfect.
Be it the banking sector, be it the healthcare sector, be it the government policy planners who are actively working on the tourism. So we want everyone to benefit from this program, and we want to truly showcase Pakistan through this effort.
Right, and I think you're also the right person to ask. You know, whenever it comes to Pakistan, what the very, let's say, common mentality is for every individual, even like me, for laymen. We blame or, tend to put everything on the shoulders of the government, the state itself. And for things that are not developing, what we tend to say is, it's not our job, let the government do it. But for this, you very rightly mentioned that the private and the public sector have to come together. So Mr. Frank, in Switzerland, I want you to explain to me, because that is known for tourism for so long, more than 100 years now, how important do you feel it is for the public and the private sector to work on it jointly?
The education system in Switzerland is shared both with the industry and the government, so it's really working together, like in terms of building the education system, and also for private institutions to design and develop such programs, so we can all grow together. It's really a joint partnership, private and public.
Right, that's brilliant. And how do you think we're going to realize that into Pakistan?
I think, as Frank said, we have to develop the whole ecosystem.
Yes.
An ecosystem where we see how people arrive, what is the whole customer journey, where people Google their stuff, what are their experiences before even coming to Pakistan, what kind of experiences they get once they are here, and what kind of memories they take back. So I think not only government or private sector, I think the whole ecosystem needs to work in that regard, where we provide hard infrastructure for tourism, for guests, and also the softer aspects.
Now let's talk about that in detail. Let our viewers know what hard infrastructure is in terms of tourism, and then compare to soft infrastructure as well.
See, it's very important to understand the infrastructure itself. Infrastructure is required for access, and once we divide it, just for understanding purpose, what is a hard infrastructure? It is actually physical brick and mortar. These are your road accesses, and all the physical things that you need to have in a country for making tourism a success. While the soft infrastructure is all the customer experiences or the guest experiences that they get once they come to the city, or once they Google your country. So your soft infrastructure starts from your virtual presence, how your country is viewed, rated, and these days we know it's all private rating, whether you take about opinion websites or customer reference websites, and then starting with your country arrivals, your airport staff, your immigration staff, your whole taxi drivers. So all this constitutes a soft infrastructure.
Wow.
So for tourism to be successful, you need to have a blend of both, where you get right experiences. And in these days where we call this sharing economy, people, whatever they experience, they share back with all their nearest and dear ones.
Exactly.
They put it on the internet, they put it through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the social media forum. So that's why it's very important that the soft infrastructure also needs to be strengthened. so that people not only take good memories but also share those memories.
Absolutely. You explained it very beautifully, though. And I think this is very true. You know, in the age of today, where everything is at just the expense of your fingertips, you're sharing your experiences, you're asking people about things. I don't think you can buy anyone anymore. Like, you cannot literally buy someone to review your country as 100% as long as you're not offering all those services as well. Now, lately, I feel like, and I think you both will agree with me, a lot of international tourists and vloggers and bloggers have been coming to Pakistan and showing sort of the real image of the country as well. I'm not saying that all of the reviews were 100% correct and absolutely brilliant, but the experiences they shared were very interesting. Now, Mr. Frank, when I was reading about your profile, you very much focus on, you know, the employee engagement along with the customer engagement. And I think that along with Moinuddin Saab, you do realize that that is the key over here in terms of hospitality. Let me know about that. How do you focus on developing that character in the people that you will train here in Pakistan?
Yeah, you're perfectly right. And as Moin was mentioning before, it goes together. It's not only getting the beautiful infrastructure, getting the right processes. That's really part of the operation that we're going to cover in this course. But we're going to start tomorrow with. I will be starting actually on the course on trustworthy leadership.
Oh.
And it will be followed by people's management. That's all like an opening session, really dealing with people. Because the one thing you want eventually is really to get everybody to embark on this journey. So the first one to embark is actually the employee. How do you impersonate? How do you get to the full embodiment of who you are, of who you represent? So the key element to understand who you are as an employee, and also for managers to bring those people along to the full promise of the brand you represent.
Right, and you know, to further that question as well, I think that is true. Yes, employees really have to realize who they are, where they're coming from, or what they're representing in order to engage the, you know, customers as well. But in Pakistan, I was reading actually a report by Business Recorder which mentioned, I'm not going to name the exact hotels, but which generally mentioned about, you know, growing Pakistani hotels in hospitality industry, which said that a lot of people, a lot of employees and managers are actually being hired or, you know, being employed from Gilgit-Baltistan or that area because they're, well, as compared to others, a little more trained and a little more warm, which is amazing. So for people who really do want to venture into this sector, Pakistanis especially, who are now embarking onto it, they really have to realize, you know, what they're representing and how to make the customers come back again. Now, you've been in this sector and especially in Pakistan for so long. Do you think we're on that path already? And how long is it going to take for us or the employees to realize that customer is the king?
Thank you. First of all, Pakistanis, we are by culture and by nature very hospitable people.
Yes, I agree.
And our young generation is very talented. And the only thing is understanding the ethos of the business and going with the business ethic. What is hospitality? If you look at mostly people who come to hospitality are the people who are from the struggling backgrounds, who are from the self-made persons who couldn't continue their education, so they directly seek employment.
Okay.
So they start from a really unskilled platform to a skilled one. So what is the challenge is to keep their education and skills upgrading while they are doing their jobs. So the key to success in this would be to keep learning, relearning, upskilling themselves while being at work. So that's why these executive education programs are mostly aimed at people who are early in the industry.
Okay.
So these are the trainings of industry for the industry.
Oh, I get it.
While at universities you get students, so they go through a university regime, then they go back to internships.
Right.
While here we have people who have got 10 to 15 years of experience. While they started with humble beginnings, now they are at a threshold where to go further or seek higher positions. They need to learn those softer skills, those skills on technology, like our next modules is going to be tech in tourism. Where, because in tourism again, there's so much important. Now if you look at all your ride sharing platforms, it's all technology. So it has to be a blend of your skill and also your upgraded knowledge.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Moin, I'm going to take your words where you talked about unskilled labor, which is true in terms of Pakistan. Yes, a lot of people belonging to, let's say, unfortunate or downtrodden segments of the society do, really want to earn for their family, and it's only natural. So they would resort to all sorts of, employment in terms of hospitality, hotel management, whatnot. But Mr. Frank, when we're looking at such unskilled labor running hotels, or let's say dealing with the customers over there, dealing with the people coming to them, it is, yes, important for them to train it, but when we're talking about local hotels in the northern areas or the actual tourist areas, I don't think they even hold tourist, trainings for them, for their employees to behave better or to, act better in front of people. So like you said, it is a training session for people already in the industry. While you guys will be definitely catering to, luxurious places like this one, do you think local hotels are going to embark on this journey too, and they will train their employees too?
I believe so. I mean, hospitality is really, you may think it's only good manners, and you think it's because you go to fancy hotel or upscale hotel, like it's all about, you can learn about good manners, but I truly believe it starts with the mindset. And the mindset really the values of hospitality, about going towards the other, and it's something that you can actually base and develop and grow because of this mindset, because of the values you're cherishing. And then you can learn on that and you can develop.
I do agree with that. Now, Mr. Frank, if I'm not wrong, this is your first time in Pakistan.
Yes, it is.
All right. So before you came here, an honest answer though, what were you expecting of Pakistan?
We hear a lot of things about Pakistan when you are in Europe, and I know the country has been through like lots of trouble back like 20 years ago, and so people are very curious, actually. I mean, when you have to embark some faculty members from EHL to come to Pakistan, there were like very various reactions. But I could find people who were really curious and craving to come over and to see by themselves.
And you were one of the curious ones.
Exactly.
Okay. And how are you finding it?
Well, I mean, so far, I mean, this is a beautiful location. I arrived at the airport. It was really very safe and very modern place. And Islamabad is, I read a little bit about Islamabad before I was coming, and I was amazed about the natural beauty. It's a very green city with the mountains around, and I'm received like a prince, and of this very, very nice, welcoming people here.
All right. And for people who do live in Islamabad, who have been to Islamabad once, they cannot love anything better than Islamabad. I think you're going to agree with me as well. But I feel like in terms of, as a nation, because we're just beginners in the tourism sector as well, we do lack some ideas. Because when, when we were off the camera, we were actually discussing how you guys went to Munal and you absolutely loved it. So we were comparing, actually Mr. Frank was comparing, and we were agreeing that the Margala Hills were more or less like the Hollywood Hills over there. And we were discussing how if we do put a Islamabad or I love Islamabad sign over there, how that is going to be so interesting for everyone who comes. This is just an example. I'm not saying that we're going to do it. Someone can actually do it. We're just saying. So, Mr. Moin, we do lack a lot of ideas. A lot of people say on Instagram, on Twitter, all over, that in terms of tourism, Pakistan has to offer mountains only, while we living over here know that we have so much to offer. So how can we make that flourish?
Shazad, these are very little small things that matter, as you rightly said. First on Islamabad, I am living here from quite some time now. Yes. Islamabad grows on you.
It does.
And like the Margalas you mentioned, every time we go for the trail, I always think that why don't you put a big heart there, exactly, and put a place for taking your selfies with that,
it's
or
Instagram
just
world
to
after
say,
all.
yeah, or hashtag Islamabad or hashtag I was here at Islamabad. Right. So all these small things, they have a viral value. So, and that viral value of the virality also gives you a vital, eyeballs to catch from the marketing perspective. That's what the soft infrastructure is. So, the more spots that you identify, Islamabad, we have very beautiful spots, very beautiful streams. We just need to put them on a showcase. Yes. Maybe put them with hashtags, or maybe make small areas, and I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Moin, I think you will agree with me when we're talking about Islamabad. Yes, it does get a lot of attention because, well, it is the federal capital and it is just absolutely stunning. But just few minutes, ahead of Islamabad, Rawalpindi, which used to be the main hub of the subcontinent back then, it has a lot of cultural places to offer, a lot of beautiful places to offer, which are not paid a lot of attention to. And maybe the buildings are rotting, a lot of people are not going there. how can we preserve that and how can we make that a tourist destination? Because for people like me, that area is really interesting to go to.
See, Rawalpindi or Lahore or even just next to Rawalpindi is Taxila, which is part of Rawalpindi district. And one of the oldest universities of the world was based in Taxila.
Yes.
And Taxila, Rawalpindi itself gives you so much of cultural heritage.
Yes, absolutely.
The only thing is your storytelling, taking it to the world. If you take people to Taxila, if there's so many beautiful buildings in Rawalpindi which need to be renovated, and if those buildings are renovated in the same character and fashion,
Right.
I think it can create a new revolution in urban revitalization. People would like to connect with the people who are from the inner cities, like we have Androon Lahore. We can have another Androon Pindi. The only thing is not to leave that infrastructure for ruin, but rather to conserve it and put a storytelling things. We people are good in putting food streets, but apart from food streets, the storytelling side of it,
Yeah, I agree. with that.
all these havelis that we have,
Yes.
all these gullies that are there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity
Absolutely.
to, and then bring tourism around that. So there's a whole theme to it.
Right. So here's the thing. I was actually watching a video of, there is a very small restaurant located on probably top of the Swiss Alps, which generates its own food, and whatever it has to carry, it comes with a sort of a, chairlift, what we call it, and then it is transferred from one place to another. People really have to hike up there to, really catch the view and everything. It was just so beautiful for me to watch. So I think you must have been listening to Mr. Moeen over here that in terms of tourism, Pakistan has food to offer. If you're going out, if you're going to XYZ places, this is the best food you'll have. What, let's say, advice do you have for Pakistanis or for people venturing into this business for them to offer other than food? Because, well, that is the only hangout we do have over here.
Yeah, but still food, as Moin was saying before, and you were saying, like, it comes with a story, and we are all craving for stories, and I think Pakistan has a lot to offer in terms of variety and blended culture and element that you've made your own, and it's really up to you to come with new stories and to reinvent them.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about stories, it is the era of storytelling as well, because everyone and anyone can do it at the expense of their gadget as well. I'm pretty sure you can explain this to me a lot better when we're talking about digital marketing. It is not just a job of marketers anymore or people belonging to that segment as well. Anyone can do it, like I just mentioned. So how can you develop your customer experience in such a way that the stories that go out of your place are actually going to engage and bring back more customers?
It probably comes back to the kernel of your story, and when you've put in it, like, does it resonate with the people? Is it like authentic? I'm talking about trustworthy leadership and the authenticity of who you are, what you want to convey, the authenticity of your story. It doesn't have to be made up. It's really something that is true and unique, which is about you, and you want to share it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the discussion that we will be furthering after we come back from this very short break. Stay tuned to find out more. Good evening. Welcome back to the special transmission of Well This Morning on an evening on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. This was very important to share with you. For all of those who haven't been watching us from the start, we are today discussing the tourism and hospitality sector of Pakistan and how EHL from Switzerland is actually, sort of collaborating with the luxurious hotels in Pakistan and the government of Pakistan to impart the training of hospitality to people here in Pakistan. Now, Mr. Moeen, just yesterday I was reading a news which spoke about the Chief Minister of Balochistan actually also, embarking on this trend of furthering tourism in Pakistan. And he said that Balochistan actually has a lot to offer, which is true. If you've been there, well, I'm guilty of saying I've never been to Balochistan, but I've seen it in pictures, I've seen it on Google everywhere. It has a lot to offer in terms of turquoise, beaches and everything. You cannot really for a moment realize that, are you in Pakistan? That is the real beauty of Balochistan. So we were talking about storytelling and how authentic it should be. So now that we're expecting Balochistan to flourish in tourism as well, what stories do you think that has to tell us?
As a province, Balochistan itself is the largest province in terms of area.
Yes.
And the geographical diversity it gives is amazing, starting from Gavadar all the way to Hingol Mountains,
Yes.
which itself has its own story, like we have other countries where hotels are built in caves.
Okay.
I think Hingol gives you a very good idea how can we have cave-based hotels. And then Balochistan again, if you know, is very famous for jeep rallies, car rallies,
Absolutely.
off-roading, adventure motorbiking, and its connection to Iran for, if you want to have a jeep tour of Europe, Balochistan is the gateway you can't miss.
Absolutely.
And the same lines like Gilgit-Baltistan, where most of our hotels are situated because it's a developing area, as in a tourism support we do, like we have Sarfaranga race. So Sarfaranga is a desert in Skardu.
Yes.
Generally deserts are hotter in summer,
Yeah.
and that's the only desert that's cold in summer.
Imagine that. How
So that gives
beautiful.
you an opportunity of having a jeep race in a summer season, altogether different from other Cholistan races or other races or Jal Magsi races. On the same lines, I think we have to just identify small niches with its own market, and then do research on how scientifically, if I am saying Taxila is old or Swat has a Buddhist civilization,
Right.
I should prove it scientifically through carbon testing that really this is an old civilization. Or if I talk about Mehergarh, which is in Balochistan, we claim that that's more than 7,000 years old, and that's the first civilization of this whole South and Central Asia. So I think if we put our students, or if I put our education system on that way, where whatever we say has a practical angle to it,
Right.
a practical angle to the story,
And an authentic one as well.
an authentic one, of course, because once you prove it on a scientific basis, it'll give you a story that has some feet to it. Otherwise, it becomes a myth or a legend without a, like we say he Ranja, but scientifically we cannot prove that he was where she was living, or was Ranja really a shepherd.
Exactly.
On the same lines, but with history or with archaeology or geography, Pakistan is so diverse. We just need to mold our education system, what Frank said, is on a lifelong learning, is on skills development. We come up with people who are hospitality professionals, certified guides who know the real scientific story. So imagine if a guide takes you to a place somewhere in Hunza and he tells you a story which relates with the ground and geography. That story is very captivating as compared to a myth that you download from internet.
Exactly, I agree with that. But Mr. Moeen, I think, I don't know if you do agree with me or not, when you spoke about legends, I think when you go to such a beautiful place which is Doresti, you do indulge in listening to legends and myths as well, right? Like there was this one time only that I was in the northern Pakistan as well, and that was at the Saif al-Muluk Lake. And there were 2 or 3 guides, and each one of them had a different story. But it was so much fun for me to learn. I mean, one was coming from, let's say, a Hindu background. The other was coming from an angelic background. I can't even begin to explain the type of stories they had. It was very interesting. But I think you raised a very important point where we need to have scientific backing when we are claiming that we have the, world's oldest living civilizations in Pakistan as well. We have the remains of the oldest civilizations as well. Yes, that is true, but then again, just to make it more factual, we do need to prove it archaeologically as well. Now, Mr. Frank, Mr. Moeen raised a point where in terms of we need to train the guides as well so they give out the right kind of information and not just, for taking money from foreigners, what we usually do here in Pakistan as well. How important do you think is unlearning and then relearning for them?
I think when it comes to the certification of people, it goes to the what you bring to in terms of scientific background and elements. And I think it's something that also goes with how you tell the story.
Yes.
Because if you tell a story to a kid, if you tell a story to some adult people, maybe you have different ways of conveying this story. And last but not least, as you mentioned, is like this learning process is like it's a never-ending process. I mean, all your life, and I'm still learning, even if I'm teaching as well, I'm also learning. And there is a famous Tommy Brown that used to say, going beyond yourself is the only race that never ends.
Absolutely, absolutely true. I think learning never ends as well. Now, here's the thing. Just yesterday, I came across another story. I always come across stories. Well, that is the power of social media, ladies and gentlemen, which was mentioning the first women ever to have traveled all the countries. Now, this is because of the newer world, right? It is because of internet that people have the need to share their stories as well. And it is because of the internet people feel safer to travel the world as well. Who would imagine living in Europe to come to a third world country, which is not a third world anymore, like Pakistan, and then share their stories as well if it was not for the internet? So now not only we're depending on men or families to travel, anyone individually can travel to any place in the world. So now with that kind of boom, you've been to Pakistan and seen at least few places now. Where are we lacking?
Even for the one who you may think have everything because they have the education or some kind of education from a top-notch university,
Right.
I think it always goes with the fact that you never learn, and you also learn from people, the people you meet, and that's the basic rule of hospitality. You grow together, and I think it's a good lesson from that we have in our hospitality, growing together with the people you are welcoming.
Right, absolutely. And you know, when you mention about professional training and education as well, it's a very sad fact, ladies and gentlemen, but if you notice the guides that we're talking about, or let's say the employees at hotels that we're talking about, we already did mention they're not coming from educational backgrounds. I cannot recall one single moment where I went to a historical place or a cultural place and the tour guide over there was educated, not once. But that is very important, yes, of course. So how do you feel it is important for Pakistani universities to incorporate that kind of education, even for people who are not probably going to venture into hospitality, but at least they should know that that job is for an educated person because you're giving out information, right?
Yeah, I think hospitality goes well beyond it's the mindset, it's revalued, and in all the service industry, hospitality should kind of prevail. It's the hospitality of your brand, it's about how you embark people in the full embodiment of the brand you are representing, and that's really all about the mindset of hospitality. Not only standing for who you are, not only having the best operation in the world, it's all about how you get to the people, how you get and embark them in your story.
Right, absolutely. Now you both are associated with the program that we're running for Pakistanis over the period of this entire year. One by one, I want you to tell me, what do you expect as soon as this program ends? What do you expect from the people who were being trained for them to be? Do you expect them to have a changed mindset? Do you expect them to be more skilled? Let's begin with you, Mr. Moeen.
First is the change mindset,
Okay.
and second is peer learning, that we have a cohort of a diverse backgrounds.
Okay.
People from different service sectors are here with us. We expect that they'll do a lot of peer learning and sharing of experiences, and we are working on developing those community of leadership and practices,
Right.
where they share their practices together, and that should be a lifelong learning, Edward, Frank said, and I think that is our aim.
Okay, perfect.
And creating an island of excellence for Pakistan for other to benchmark.
Oh, perfect, perfect. And then maybe once we have perfected that, we can lend our services to other countries as well, like AHL is doing. What do you expect by the end of this program?
I think Moeen said it beautifully. It's about really sharing experiences. We have our own experience. We are not here to tell people what they should do. It's really about how we, from where you are, how we can grow together, and that's really what we are craving for, growing talents.
Right. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, for all of those who have been to the northern areas of Pakistan, in the past decade as well, you might have realized that there's a growing influx of hotels over there for people, welcoming everyone as well. But that is very specific to the people living in northern areas now. I think we've spoken about this before as well, but let's compare to an area in Punjab, not naming one of them. But if you were to go there and expect the hotel services to be like that in GB or even, AJK or all those beautiful places in Skardu as well, it's not the same. It is probably, I feel like, the literacy factor as well over there, because in GB, everyone is educated. More than 89% of the population over there is educated. So how can we learn from our own people, let alone, of course, we have a lot to learn from foreigners, like Mr. Frank over here. He has brought a lot of expertise to Pakistan, but from our own people too.
See, it's about sharing of experiences, it's about cross-pollination of ideas.
Right.
Our own Khan culture, once they were working in GB, after their learnings, they went to Lahore,
Okay.
and they are doing the Walled City project. Now in Walled City, if you take a tour, the tour is more immersive, more experiential, because the guides are trained. The storytelling is strong. on the same lines, I say we are not living in information economy, we are living in experience economy.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So the way we take our guests and kind of deepen their experiences, the more they will record those experiences, they will share those experiences, and those experiences are always relived.
All right, that was brilliant, very well put as well. But ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about Pakistan, it's not just cities and all the fancy things. We have, I feel like, the perfect blend of rural and urban civilization. Now, Mr. Moin, I don't know, Mr. Frank, if you've been to Saidpur village yet, please do take him. I absolutely love it. Yeah, please go there. So here's the thing, it is a very beautiful touristy place developed within a real village setting in the federal capital vicinity as well. We do tend to, sort of regularize or even further develop our urban areas, but I feel like there's a lot of untapped business opportunities in the rural areas as well. How do you think we can go about that?
I think the whole tourism is in rural areas. And this domestic tourism, what it does is the money from the urban areas of Pakistan in a domestic tourist scenario goes from urban to rural areas.
Yeah.
And that's an excellent way of changing the money hands
Right.
from the rich people to the poor people. So I think what we need to do in the rural areas is to give access to communities so they can do some home sharing projects.
Right, that would be so much fun as well.
Exactly, you get more experiential insight into a village life if someone takes you to a well in Punjab or offers you a lassi. That is a memorable experience if you have a makai ka saag and sarson ka saag and makai ki roti and lassi, right? So that's an experience which a rural person can offer you. You cannot find it in an urban upscale place.
True,
so
true.
I think those things can be curated, and then communities should be kind of given orientation, sensitization about attracting people from the cities.
I agree with that. I hate doing this comparison that I'm going to do right now, but our neighbors, they do have this thing going on, and I absolutely love that. For people to come to such areas, for a European who's first time coming to such a setting, he would actually love to indulge in a conversation or an interaction with the actual rural family living over there as well. Now, here's the thing. Again, a report from Business Insider which spoke about the tourism in Pakistan. They said that even in the beautiful northern areas where you expect to have, like you mentioned, all the desi things, like in terms of, milk and, dairy and whatnot, there are milk cartons going on because, well, capitalism, why not? But that also is, increasing and contributing a lot to waste over there. A lot of littering is going on over there. Mr. Frank, when we talk about development and tourism development, it has to be sustainable as well, because we don't want it to be a 5-year thing, that 5 years down the lane it's going to be so dirty, no one's going to come back again. How can we make it sustainable and long term?
That's a big question. I think it's a big challenge for the whole hospitality industry. And coming back to the authenticity, that's also, I think we come back to our roots and getting to tell stories that are local stories that are not, you're not expecting when you come to Pakistan to have like another Disneyland or some place, something that is very local, that is very true, that is very authentic. And because it's very true, very authentic, and because also you involve people, it's the story of the people, so you don't want a place to be damaged by waste or anything.
Exactly.
So I think it comes with this mindset of hospitality, involving the people, but it's a big challenge.
Yes, it is indeed a big challenge because, a lot of people, as soon as the summer starts, you will see hashtags going on and, Instagram going crazy with the fact that mountains are calling. But after you leave the mountains, you leave just so much litter behind that mountains are calling you again to go back and clean them, because that is your responsibility. If you're actually using all the services, if you're using and, relaxing with the endless beauty of Pakistan, you're supposed to, first of all, being a Pakistani and then being a responsible citizen to make sure that you do not litter around. Mr. Moin, what do you have to say about sustainable development?
I think it's about responsible tourism. First of all, the community needs to be kind of advocated, informed that any short-term measure that they are going to take will affect their long-term livelihood.
Yes.
Because if they damage their environment, people will not go there again and again.
Yes.
And secondly, on the tourist side, I think we need to work a lot. Even tourism policing, for example. They should be police, but there should be tourist police.
Yes.
In a sense that they give you awareness, and also they give you health and safety advice of what to do, what not to do, which mountain to climb, which mountain we shouldn't climb, which mountain we should climb with equipment, should we need what is carrying capacity of a bridge, for example. How many people should at one time be standing on a bridge?
Oh, that's so
should you take
important.
your car to a place, or should you go an off-road vehicle? So all this information needs to be archived, and then maybe at the provincial level, you get, and with group like ours, we do a lot of capacity development of tour operators, of people who are engaged in guest house services.
Right.
In those far-flung areas, we tell them what is responsible tourism, how they can reduce their footprint, because the more pristine the environment is, the more a tourist would like to go.
Right, right. And you actually reminded me of a very unfortunate incident where you spoke about it is the responsibility of the guides, of the people living over there, to tell the tourists or foreigners of what is safe for them and what not. This was a few years ago, ladies and gentlemen, when in Neelam Valley, a group of people, a group of university students were there on a tour, on an educational tour, and unfortunately no one was there to tell them what the actual capacity of that bridge over there is. So a lot of people, being students, they wanted a group photo, right? And they just climbed onto the bridge. Unfortunately, no one was foreseeing that for ever to happen to anyone, the bridge broke and it was a catastrophe. God forbid that happens to anyone else again. So that these are just minor things that one needs to take in account when you are thinking of developing the tourism sectors. Now, gentlemen, you guys were amazing guests, but now this is, since we are wrapping the show as well, I want your closing notes on, this program as well, the EEP, and also any message for Pakistan that you have. If you need time to think, I'll begin with Mr. Moeen over here.
Pakistan with hope, a Pakistan that is green, a Pakistan that is prosperous for everyone.
Oh, wow, beautiful. What about you? Your closing notes, please.
Yeah, I also wish everybody to grow with this program. Growing talents is our target, and I hope everybody because we're going to be sharing also the mindset of hospitality. So let's grow together.
Wow. Let's grow together. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Frank. Thank you so much, Dr. Moinuddin, as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, Pakistan, for all of those who have not been here, it is just so stunning. If, God forbid, I did not belong to Pakistan, I'm pretty sure my tourist destination for every summer would have been Pakistan. And I'm not exaggerating. Please open your internet to find out how it is just absolutely stunning. And we learned a lot from today's program as well, ladies and gentlemen. For all of those who are, thinking to venture into the hospitality and tourism industry as well, Pakistan is now shortly going to offer you courses to study as well from some very, very well-trained professionals too. And this thing, in collaboration with Serena Hotels and the government of Pakistan as well, by EHL Switzerland, it is going to turn out so fruitful for Pakistanis. I'm already so sure about it. So if there's anything you need to write to us or learn from us, if you have any queries, please write on our Facebook page with the name of World This Morning. You can find us on Twitter with the same name, World This Morning without a G, or on YouTube with the name of PTB World. And I'm not really sure about the fact, but I think you can catch the repeat at 11 p.m. tonight. Till the next time, I'll see you tomorrow morning, which is Monday. Good evening. Take care.